Okay, so we just finished listening to Roman and Kevin's interview with Peter Armaly on the Customer Success Playbook. That was episode 40 of season 2, if you're keeping track at home.
I was really struck by how he talked about the oversimplified view that a lot of companies have. The whole idea that it's just this straight line from prospect to happy customer.
Yeah, it's definitely more complicated than that.
Way more
It's
complicated.
more like riding a roller coaster or surfing a wave.
Which is funny because that's the analogy Peter used.
He did it.
Customer satisfaction ebbing and flowing like the tide.
I love that analogy. It really highlights that human element. The customer journey is dynamic. It's driven by emotions. It's not just checking things off a list.
Yeah.
Right. And that brings us to churn. Companies often focus so much on just preventing customers from leaving, but they don't always think about why those customers are unhappy in the first place.
It's so true.
Peter really hit on that. Understanding those nuances in the customer journey,
Yeah.
those little shifts in satisfaction, that can make or break the relationship.
Absolutely. And you know what else can really break things? Those clunky handoffs between teams.
Oh, yeah, he talked about that.
Yeah, he stressed how important those seamless transitions are between departments, from sales to onboarding to enablement.
So true.
Each stage requires a different type of expertise, and everyone needs to understand where the customer is in their journey.
It's like a relay race, right?
Yeah.
If you fumble the baton during the handoff,
Yeah.
you lose so much time.
And momentum.
Yeah. It's the same with the customer experience.
Yeah.
Any bumpy transition can create friction
And frustration.
and ultimately a negative perception of your company.
Exactly. So how can companies prevent those fumbles?
Well, Peter and the host dug into that too. They talked about how important data-driven processes are.
And clear communication channels.
Yeah, everyone needs access to the right customer information
Mm.
so they can personalize their interactions and provide timely support.
It's all about having that unified view of the customer across the entire organization.
But it's not enough to just have the data. You have to actually use it effectively.
Right.
You need to establish well-defined processes.
And make sure everyone understands the customer journey and their specific needs.
Kevin gave a really good example of this. He talked about bringing the onboarding team into the sales process early on, even before the deal is closed.
Interesting.
And this kind of proactive collaboration ensures everyone's on the same page from the start. And it creates a smooth transition for the customer.
I love that idea.
It really shows that a great customer journey isn't just one team's responsibility.
Yeah.
It's a company-wide commitment to the customer.
Absolutely. And this is especially important during onboarding.
Well, for sure.
Peter pointed out that this stage can be kind of a mixed bag for customers. They're excited to see results, but they might also feel a little overwhelmed or unsure how to get started.
That's a lot to take in.
It is.
This is where communication is so important.
Couldn't agree more.
Clear and consistent communication throughout the whole onboarding process, whether it's personalized emails or regular check-ins, even a dedicated onboarding portal. These touch points can make a huge difference in reducing anxiety.
And building confidence.
Exactly.
And don't forget about personalization. Peter really stressed that onboarding isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Right.
It's all about understanding the customer's starting point and tailoring the experience to their needs.
You might need to offer different learning formats, identify product champions within the customer's team, or even provide personalized training. The key is to recognize that each customer learns and adopts technology in their own way.
Makes sense. So we were just talking about personalization, and that leads right into enablement.
Yeah, Peter had a lot to say about that.
He talked about how important it is to move beyond those generic training materials.
Right.
And create personalized enablement plans for each customer.
I love how he emphasized that enablement is all about empowerment.
It is.
It's not just about telling customers how to use the product.
Mm-hmm.
It's about helping them understand its full potential.
Absolutely.
And how it can solve their specific challenges.
He used a great analogy, teaching someone to fish rather than just giving them a fish.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Enablement is about giving customers the tools and knowledge they need.
To be self-sufficient.
Exactly.
And achieve long-term success with the product.
And, to extend that analogy a little bit, you might need different fishing techniques depending on the type of fish you're trying to catch.
That's true.
The same goes for enablement. Some customers might prefer video tutorials.
Some might like hands-on workshops.
Right, or even gamified learning experiences.
It's all about finding what works best for each individual.
Exactly. And Peter had another great tip for effective enablement. Identify product champions within the customer's organization.
Oh, yeah. Those internal advocates can be so valuable.
They can help drive adoption, spread knowledge,
Yeah.
and create a culture of success around your product.
It's like having a mini marketing team working for you inside the customer's company.
I like that.
Those champions can really amplify your message.
Now, here's a common mistake that Peter pointed out.
Got it.
A lot of companies jump straight from enablement to renewal conversations without focusing enough on ongoing optimization.
That's a good point. It's like assuming that once you've taught someone to fish, they'll automatically catch a full net every time they go out.
Right. There are so many other factors that can impact their success.
Exactly.
And that's where the concept of health scoring comes in.
Health scoring.
Yeah, Peter's a big advocate for using those sophisticated health scoring systems to track customer progress and identify any potential issues early on.
He called it a crucible for business transformation.
He did.
Can you break that down for me?
Sure. So Peter believes that well-designed health scores can provide a data-driven view of the customer experience. Think of it like a dashboard that gives you a real-time snapshot of how healthy your customer relationships are.
So instead of waiting for a customer to complain or threaten to churn, you could see warning signs in advance.
Exactly.
And take steps to address their needs.
By monitoring those key metrics like product usage, engagement levels, and support interactions.
You can get ahead of those potential churn risks.
It's like having a crystal ball.
But powered by data.
Exactly. And this proactive approach is so essential for building those strong, lasting customer relationships.
Because it shows you're invested in your customer success.
Right. You're not just focused on collecting their money.
And when customers feel valued and supported, they're more likely to stick around.
Peter argued that ideally renewals should be a no-brainer.
Oh, yeah, he talked about that.
For customers who have experienced consistent success and engagement.
It makes sense.
But he also acknowledged that there can be some tension between customer success teams and sales or renewal teams.
Especially in larger organizations.
Right. Those teams can sometimes operate in silos.
With the renewal team just focused on closing the deal.
And not having the full picture of the customer's experience.
That lack of communication can lead to all sorts of problems.
Customer might feel like they're just a transaction.
Not a valued partner.
Exactly.
Which can really damage the relationship.
So having that shared understanding of the customer journey across all teams is so important.
Makes sense.
Kevin talked about how his CSMs meet with the sales team monthly to discuss customer updates, regardless of how close they are to renewal.
I like that.
It keeps everyone on the same page and allows for more collaborative communication.
That's a great way to prevent those communication breakdowns.
And ensure a seamless experience for the customer.
If the sales team is aware of any potential issues or opportunities, they can adjust their approach accordingly.
And increase the chances of a successful renewal.
For sure. Now let's talk about AI. Peter had some really interesting things to say about the role of AI in the customer lifecycle.
It's clear that he sees it as a powerful tool that can revolutionize how companies manage customer relationships.
He even shared how Oracle is using AI in some innovative ways.
Oracle?
Yeah, a company traditionally known for its sales-driven culture.
Right.
They're using AI to improve customer support and understand customer case patterns.
That's interesting.
But Peter also emphasized that while AI can automate those mundane tasks and free up CSMs to focus on more strategic activities.
It's important to avoid just throwing AI at the problem without a clear strategy.
Right. He urged companies to establish those clear guidelines for its use.
He believes that customer success operations teams have a key role to play here.
In terms of centralizing AI activity.
Right. Developing best practices. And creating templates that can be used across the entire organization.
This ensures that AI is actually being used effectively, not becoming a distraction.
It's about finding that balance between experimentation and standardization.
AI should empower CSMs to deliver even greater value to customers.
Not replace that human touch.
Which is still so essential. And Peter's vision for the future of AI is really something. He thinks AI has the potential to break down those silos.
The ones we were talking about.
Yeah.
It could create a more data-driven approach.
Across the whole company.
Imagine a world where every interaction a customer has with a company feels effortless, personalized, and valuable.
That's the power of AI.
When it's used the right way.
And Peter's not just talking about this in theory. He actually uses AI in his own work. He mentioned that he uses AI to brainstorm ideas and explore new concepts.
It's like having a personal teammate.
Right.
It shows how AI can boost productivity and innovation.
But the interview wasn't all serious business talk. Roman and Kevin always like to have some fun.
They do.
They wrap things up with their rapid-fire questions, We got to see a different side of Peter.
We learned that he's an early bird,
Yeah.
a fan of Asian cuisine, and that he finds cooking to be very meditative.
I love those little personal insights. It makes the experts feel more relatable.
Peter also shared a story about his favorite Italian restaurant in Toronto.
Oh, yeah, the Table for Two program.
It helped him stay connected during the pandemic.
It's a great example of how businesses can build those meaningful connections.
Even during tough times.
It reminds us that customer relationships are all about human connection.
At the end of the day.
Exactly.
Oh, and for all the bookworms out there, Peter recommended A Map of the New Normal by Jeff Rubin.
I've heard of that one.
It explores those macro forces shaping our world and how we can prepare for the future.
That sounds like a great read. It definitely ties in with our conversation about AI.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are your main takeaways?
For me, it's the reminder that the customer lifecycle is always changing, and companies need to be willing to adapt, embrace new technologies, if they want to create lasting customer relationships.
I completely agree. Peter gave us a really great framework for understanding the customer lifecycle and building engaging experiences.
By focusing on smooth handoffs, personalized communication, ongoing optimization, and using AI strategically.
Companies can drive growth and loyalty.
And make those renewals a no-brainer.
Exactly. And as you continue to work in customer success, here's one last thing to think about. If AI could eliminate silos within your company, what would that look like? Could it lead to a more collaborative future, a more customer-centric future, and ultimately, a more successful future?
That's a great question to ponder. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive.
It was a pleasure.
And be sure to tune in next time for another insightful discussion.
Playbook, the secrets they share, no need to look. From onboarding to retention, they've got it all. Success is the goal, gonna stand tall. Success is the goal, gonna stand tall. And instead of falling, they got the game. Customer success is their claim to fame. On the podcast, they light the spark. Elevating your skills, creating a mark. Let's dive deeper into the playbook. The secrets they share, no need to look. From onboarding to retention, they've got it all. Success is the goal, gonna stand